Welcome back to another edition of Viper Bites. And we are hitting the waiver wire here in week number 11. But first, make sure if you're listening to us on the Vipers Network, you hit that subscribe and like button. And if you listen to us on any podcasting platform, namely Apple Podcasts, maybe even Spotify, make sure to take a second and rate and review us. And as always, drop those comments in the comment section below or hit me up on Twitter at MattDonnellyFF, and I will get to those questions later. As soon as I get a chance, you'll have an answer. Now, with that being said, we are going to head into week 11. We are going to talk about some waiver wire targets that you need to get onto this week. They're going to help you in week 11 and maybe the rest of the season as well. Note to the viewer, there will be no mention of Pittsburgh Steelers quarterbacks on this show. Now, we're going to start at the quarterback position, and we are going to go back to Carolina, where once was old is new again in Cam Newton. Cam is back and scoring tutties. One was a goal line back, the other as a passer. Expect him to get the start over P.J. Walker in week number 11. He had 4 passes, 3 runs, and he still had more points than Russell Wilson and or Aaron Rodgers. Just saying. Okay. Now, another quarterback to be targeting right now, Justin Fields. Fine. I will finally show this rookie a little bit of love on the show here, but only because he's only rostered in 25% of leagues, and he had a bye week to hopefully work things out with Allen Robinson. Maybe take him to a dinner, maybe get a little bit of wine in him, maybe talk about their goals in life, maybe talking about how to get on the same page. That would be nice. Now, last time we saw Justin Fields, he went 17 of 29 for 291 yards and a touchdown. And this week he faces a Ravens defense, and while they've tightened up their secondary, you can still throw on them. So Justin Fields is a guy you need to want to get on that roster right away as well. And sticking with this rookie theme, Mac Jones. Jones is rostered more than Fields, but not much more at 28%. And while he's not a QB1 every week for the Patriots, they have a certain plan in play on his development, much like Justin Fields, and we are seeing improvement each and every week. Now, Jones doesn't need video game numbers each week to be effective in tossing touchdowns on his limited attempts. 3 touchdowns on 23 last week, and he's thrown for 7.4% of his passes have been touchdowns since week 3. Now, moving along to the running back position, we're going to start with Tennessee. We're going to go with D'Onta Foreman, Tennessee Titans. Look, Adrian Peterson, he was great once upon a time, but that time ain't no more. Now, Foreman out-carried Peterson last week and looked better doing so. Foreman had 11 carries for 30 yards. He also had 2 catches for 48 yards. Quick math, that's still 32 more receiving yards than what A.J. Brown had. Yeah, I don't know why I'm like this. I really don't. Now, another guy you got to get on that running back platform here is Rhamondre Stevenson. I feel like I've been talking about him for the last 3 weeks here about the waiver wire, but he is still not rostered nearly enough. Now, as long as Damian Harris is sidelined, Stevenson needs to be in your lineup there as an RB1, dare I say. Definitely an RB2. Now, Harris has done enough to keep the job, but Stevenson has definitely earned ample opportunities going forward. That should lead to being a more viable flex option each and every week. And we've seen him run. We've seen him catch the ball out of the backfield. We've seen him be that goal line hammer. There's nothing Rhamondre Stevenson can't do. Now, speaking of a little bit of that hammer, some goal line back, some pass catching ability, let's talk about the Eagles' backfield right now. The combination of Jordan Howard and Boston Scott, as long as Miles Sanders remains out, the Eagles will run the ball. That just seems to be how it is. Miles Sanders comes back in. Let's go back to the passing game. Let's avoid running the ball altogether. What? Miles Sanders out? Let's get back to running the ball. Now, against Denver, Jordan Howard had 12 carries for 83 yards. Boston Scott had 81 yards on 11 carries. He also added 24 yards on 2 receptions. Now, as long as Sanders is out, they're both in play for your flex and feel comfortable doing so. But let's dig a little deeper here. Let's show some love to guys' names I cannot pronounce, starting with Detroit Lions running back, Godwin Igwebuike, give or take. Don't fact check me on that, please. We know what DeAndre Swift can do, but with Jamal Williams missing last week with a thigh injury, and Jamar Jefferson leaving with that ankle injury early. It was this running back right here, whose name I will not pronounce again or butcher again, who had a touchdown, 2 carries, 56 yards. He busted off a nice little 42 one. Not to mention, he had 122 yards kick returning. Now, if you're in that kind of thing, you could do worse than him. Now, if Williams and Jefferson miss time again this week, make sure to follow his injury reports. But this line has an opportunity to roar again in week 11. Now, moving over to the wide receiver position, I'm not going to get big onto Rashod Bateman. You should just have him already on your roster. Jamal Agnew. How many wide receivers do you know have 0 catches one week? And I'm still saying make sure to get him on your roster. He had 79 rushing yards. Visca Chanel, who? And then Traquan Smith, 4 catches, 7 targets. Definitely the guy to get in the Saints. And Will Fuller coming back this week? Probably. Make sure to get him on. But none of these guys are who we are talking about here. We are going to start off with Vegas wide receiver Bryan Edwards. Let's get excited and hopefully not disappointed next week. Edwards was a fourth quarter kind of guy up until last week against the Chiefs. 3 catches, 88 yards, and a touchdown. He provides upside, especially when you consider that all 3 of his catches were over 20 yards. Now, another big-time playmaker there at the wide receiver position that's probably going a little bit underrated, under-talked about, definitely not talked about nearly enough. Kendrick Bourne of the New England Patriots. He's no Jacoby Myers, but he does have the eye of one Mac Jones. When you have 98 yards receiving and 48 yards rushing, you're definitely going to catch the eye of fantasy managers all over the place. Bourne has himself now just outside of the top 30 wide receivers when it comes to fantasy points, and was a wide receiver 1 this past week, posting 24.1 fantasy points against the Browns. Yeah, he's going to give you some flex appeal a little bit later on in the season. Now, another guy is Marcus Johnson, Indianapolis Colts. With Julio out, go get Johnson. Heck, even with Julio, Johnson's the kind of wide receiver that basically becomes a Julio Jones handcuff no matter how you look at it. And with Derrick Henry looking like he's going to miss another solid 6 weeks, and Julio Jones on IR, Tannehill will be counting on him even more than that 100-yard performance that Johnson put up against the Saints last week. Now, dig a little deeper, because that's like we do. We will not mention quarterbacks from Pittsburgh, but we will mention a wide receiver in James Washington, who's a big-time boom or bust kind of option out there. Look no further. He's the guy you want. Now, with Chase Claypool dealing with some toe injuries out there, there's an opportunity. You might hear Ray McLeod there as another option out there, but don't hold your breath too long. I don't see them having long-term value, but they may give you a little bit of a deep kind of opportunity here for those rosters going forward. Now, moving over to the tight end position, Gerald Everett. Last week, Russell Wilson looked bad with his new finger. Well, it was his old finger post-op. But Gerald Everett, he did look good, catching 8 passes for 63 yards and showing fantasy managers what they thought would be possible when they selected him late in fantasy drafts in the offseason. Okay, they selected him late because they really passed on everyone at the tight end position. So let's not get too carried away. But Gerald Everett's definitely a guy you could get into your tight end here. I think he's going to have some value moving forward. Not as much as my next guy. Again, like Rhamondre Stevenson, like Rashod Bateman, I have been preaching Dan Arnold for weeks. And guess what? He's still only rostered in 26% of leagues. Why do I have to keep adding him here? Why do I have to keep saying week in, week out, go get Dan Arnold? Well, look, 4 of his last 5 games, he has seen 7 targets. He's seen 24 targets since the Jags bye week, and he had another 5 reception week last week to go along with 67 more receiving yards. This is a no-brainer. He's not going to win you leagues, but he's going to be able to keep you in your contests week in and week out. And again, one more tight end position here, one more guy, Ty Conklin. I came around on him last week. I said I loved him, and he rewarded me with my belief in him with 2 touchdowns. So let's keep that love affair going. With the way the tight end position is, there is no way he should be rostered in less than 30% of leagues. And I think right now he's sitting right at that 30% mark. Go get Ty Conklin on those rosters right now. And that is your waiver wire targets for week number 11. Again, head over to fantasypoints.com, enter promo code 21Vipers10, get 10% off your subscription today. And because we're over halfway through the season, they've got a little bit of a nice little kickoff there to give you a little bit of a discount further on top of that. They've cut that price back a little bit more. You're not going to want to miss out. And stay tuned on the Vipers Network. Hit that subscribe button because I'll tell you what, maybe even turn those notifications on because we've got waiver wires, we've got starts and sits, we've got your prime time matchups featuring Thursday night football, Sunday night football, Monday night football, and of course, every Tuesday night, join us for the Viper Cast, 10 p.m. Eastern. Be there, be square, whatever you want to do, but make sure you tune in. We'll catch you later. Bye.